Why can't I manifest millions or something massive just from vibration or frequency alone is the question that I got, and I'm answering today. So hello, I'm Sherry Hemstreet of thesherryhemstreet.com, and I have helped over 3,400 people to manifest their dreams, their desires, to change their life, to create more success in business, and marry the love of their life. So the question is, why can't I manifest from vibration or frequency when I want to create millions of dollars or something massive in my life? And this is actually a very interesting question. Now, if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I absolutely try to make everything as practical and realistic and understandable as possible. And that's not going to change here. So the interesting thing about me that makes me a little different from every other manifesting guru and teacher out there is that, well, I don't use a lot of words that are going to be difficult to understand. And in my opinion, frequency and vibration are not super crystal clear. So this person wants to know, he said that specifically, if he could just manage his frequency and vibration, he could have $1 million. And I said, the reason that you cannot manifest millions of dollars, and yes, there will be some people that can do this, but for most people, the reason that you cannot manifest millions and millions of dollars or have this massive life shift that is extraordinary and like unheard of, right, is because you cannot manage to hold the vibration and the frequency without faltering for the length of time that you would need to hold it. So think of it this way. A frequency or a vibration is just an emotional state. An emotional state is the vibration, that is the frequency. So like, because you are living this human experience, your emotions fluctuate. Now, we all have a baseline. So essentially what you would have to do is wherever your baseline is, whatever emotional state that you're in or whatever feeling that you are most acclimated to, right? Everyone has a different feeling, and we go up and down throughout the day through all of these different feelings. And there are many different ways to gauge your feelings or your emotions. There's the emotional scale. Abraham and Hicks has an emotional scale. David Hawking has an emotional scale that, you know, you go up from like apathy all the way through like love and enlightenment, right? Now, on that scale, we're going to vacillate. We're going to go up and down. We're not going to be in the same emotional state every day at every moment, and things happen. And because we're human and because we're evolving and we're learning, we're actually growing through the process of understanding what it takes to not only move up in emotional states into a state of more emotional mastery, of more control over our feelings, have more access to feeling, acknowledging, and processing feelings, which all goes into this. We are actually also always going to, when something traumatic happens or something that throws us off course happens, we're always going to fall back to our baseline emotional state, our baseline emotional feeling, our baseline of comfort. And comfort doesn't mean like, oh, that's comfortable. Comfort means that you know it the best, right? So comfort means that this is kind of like your home base where you've spent most of your life in this state. And so the reason it is extraordinarily difficult, and though some people have done it, and I admit that, but the reason is because you have to reach such a critical mass point, like within yourself and your actual emotional state and your baseline of feelings and how you react to things in this world, that you would have to be over 80% of the way, or you'd have to be at such a higher level of feeling than your comfort baseline for such an extended amount of time throughout the timeline until your manifestation happened. Now, what happens in the meantime is life is happening. You get a flat tire, your car breaks, your kid gets suspended from school. Things happen, right? Somebody keys up your car, somebody breaks into something. Things happen because we are humans having this experience. We're spiritual beings. We're having this human experience. And we're having this human experience because we want to experience all those emotional highs and lows and experiences and the joy that goes with them. And the polarization of each end of the emotional spectrum. We want to be able to experience every flavor of emotion, for lack of a better word. And so for you to actually hold the state, think of it this way. It would be like you being in character, but it would be in truth or in delusion, however you want to look at this, right? Like if you wanted to be, let's say you wanted to have like $10 million, right? From this moment forward, you would have to overpower your reality with the feeling, the thought, the truth, regardless of the fact that it doesn't look true and everything that you see is going to contraindicate that to be true. You would have to overpower your reality, your thoughts, and your feelings, and your knowing into the vibration that you were a decamillionaire, right? To have $10 million. So like, and you have to hold that state. You have to stay in character. But not only do you have to stay in character, you actually have to believe it. You have to know it. You have to feel it. You have to work from it. You have to make decisions from it. You have to do everything from it. It's not as simple as getting into character. You can't fool your subconscious and the universe, right? But I say getting into character in a way that like, this would be who you become. And in that case, you would overpower your reality. You would overcome your reality with your own force of being. And that would be the way to do it. And that also is exactly why most people don't do it. You see what happens, and you'd have to do this for more than 80%. Like I'm kind of famous for saying, like, if you can get yourself to do something 80% of the way, it happens. And I prove this over and over again with people who take the personal manifesting formula. It's very simple once you understand how manifesting works. But if you are approaching this to have this big, massive life shift, if you are approaching this to have this absolute, like, turnaround where you go from, like, making whatever you're making to having millions and millions of dollars, that is going to mean, and you want to do it without any of the other things in between, purely from consciousness, right? You are going to have to completely get delusional, transform into the state, and then hold the state as the way of being, as the truth, regardless, right? And I actually love this because it can be done, and I have done it with small things. I haven't done it with millions of dollars, but it can be done. But there's actually a Bible verse that I like that I think it's either Ephesians or Hebrew, and I'm not really good with the Bible, but it's like he calls those things that be not as though they are. And I believe it's speaking about God. Calls those things that be not as though they are. And that's literally what you are doing in that state. So if you want to manifest purely from vibration or frequency, it starts with emotional management. It starts with your state management. It starts with how you are feeling, how you are processing your feelings, and what emotional state you are working to be in every day. You have to manage your emotional state. And then you have to stay the course in belief all the way through. Be delusional. Know that this is already done and act from that state. So it's a lot of things to juggle at once. It can be done. A good way to do this is to practice with smaller things until you get to the bigger things because it's easier. And in this case, it's going to take a lot of energy input. So the more you can make this your reality and live in the delusion of like, Of course I have $10 million. I'm making decisions from $10 million. This is how I would act with $10 million. This is how I would feel. And you're being responsible for your emotions, and you're being responsible for processing and acknowledging your feelings. And you're being responsible for your emotional management. And you're being responsible for those feel good feelings. Yes, you can manifest that way. But here's the thing. Every time you break the state, and God, source, actually showed this to me when we were a couple of years ago very actively trying to get pregnant again. And he literally like pulled back the veil, showed me a vision, and he's like, you were asking for a child. You were asking for a baby to be born to you. And here's what is happening with you throughout the day. And he literally showed, it was like a timeline where the baby would be there, the baby would be there, the baby would be there. I would all of a sudden doubt, and we would go back to start. The baby would just drop off and come right back here. And so it was like, and he did the timeline, and he showed me like all of the times that day I had fallen out of state. So like there were all these breaks in the timeline, and he was like, every one of those breaks is a time that you fell off. And when you fell off, you had to start over. So like in one day I had fallen off like 10 times and I had to start over. And so this really brought me to a state of understanding what it is to manifest from consciousness. And while it's absolutely exhilarating and amazing and can be done, it is also actually difficult. And there are easier ways to manifest because you are working with the physical. You can actually manifest through the physical realm because what you want is normally physical, and that makes it easier because that brings you into the conscious realm as well. Like your conscious joins in that, but you are working with the planet that you are on as a dense human having this planetary experience in the 3D, right? So to make it practical, you're a human, so manifesting through the physical rather than pure consciousness, which is what vibration or frequency would be, right, is going to probably be easier for most people, especially if you're in the beginning of your journey, right? And then especially if you're going after really huge, massive things like millions of dollars when you haven't even made six figures, right? So that's problematic. Now, the closer you are to $1 million, the easier this is going to be, right? So like when you start getting to like $250,000 and 300,000, 350,000, it becomes much easier because the gap to close is smaller and you've already built up the confidence and the understanding in manifesting to that level already. So I think it's important to say that. But that is exactly how you could manifest from frequency and vibration. And that's exactly why most people don't, and it gets to be difficult. And all along the way, people give up because they're like, I'm trying, I'm doing it, but nothing's working. And they feel like they've been doing it for so long because they can't see behind the scenes that they've reset the clock over and over and over so many times. It hasn't been them manifesting all this time. And so that's my understanding of it. Of course, your understanding may be different. Many people's understanding may be different. We all have different experiences there, but this is the one that I have found to be most true after working with over 3,400 people and, you know, living this life myself for many years. So I hope that this answer has helped. Let me know, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And I will see you on the next video. You can always visit me at www.thesherryhemstreet.com for more. And thank you.